evening. Hi, beautiful ladies of the Melanated Creatives. How are y'all?
Hi, Sasha. How are you?
Good.
Good. Just very happy to be here with y'all to really just get this. We've talked quite a bit over the past few weeks, so I think it'll be really amazing to, present our thoughts and perspectives in this format and share it with people who it can actually be of use and be of benefit to. So thank y'all so much for coming on, and I really look forward to diving in and getting started. So I'm ready to go when y'all are.
Yeah,
ready.
for having us and giving us a platform to talk about these things.
I know. Thank you.
It's my honor. So with anything that I do, I always like to start off with, just setting the stage with getting to know a little bit about you guys. So full names for everyone who don't know your names. A little bit about your professional background, and as well as like your cultural background and how those things kind of shaped, who you are. So feel free. I'll just go around in order. So I'll start up top with Shakira.
So my name is Shakira Hodges. I am currently a still life stylist, and I specialize in home goods, also in jewelry. It's been a long road here. I've done jobs to where it's design assistant. I've done gigs to where it's working in the actual retail store and doing visual management. So it's been a while getting here, and I think just from my background, I'm African American. My family's mostly from the South, and I kind of felt like always the oddball in the family because you can't be but so creative and artistic. You need to get you a government job. You know what I mean? So it took a while for me to break out of it. And once I did, and I surrounded myself with people who understood, I was able to go for it.
Wow. Love that.
So that is me in a nutshell in the creative industry.
All right, Kim, let's hear it.
All right, my name is Kim Charles, born and raised in Brooklyn. And also I'm a fashion stylist and still life stylist as well. And my background is of Haitian descent. So I am straight up Haitian. This life in fashion styling, they do not know what that is. It's not really a real job that they can grasp onto. So it's something that you have to explain to them, that you dress other people or you make things look pretty so they can take pictures of it. So yeah, it's been a definite interesting journey trying to just like navigate through this colorful world that we're in, and bringing our creativity at every step on every level, and being able to just be an illusionist, because that's what stylists are. They're illusionists. They create something that you can see, but for me, I see all the nicks and knacks that people may not notice behind the scenes, and I know a lot of different things and tweaks and stuff like that. So it's really fun to just, as a stylist, to always find a solution to the problem that you get to see, face forward. So culture-wise, yeah, they have no choice but to embrace it. Always been a quirky, funky dresser, and have been criticized due to that. So as I've gotten older, they've appreciated it more, and they love the style. Like Haitian people love colors, so Caribbean people love colors, yeah. But sometimes we don't match them up.
That's awesome. Well, go ahead and jump on in, Kiyana.
So my name is Kiana Panton. I'm originally from Maryland, but I reside in Brooklyn, New York now. I'm a fashion stylist. I do dabble in pop styling a little bit, but my main focus typically is fashion styling. I'm of Jamaican descent, so I can speak about like what Kim is saying, but I could also speak about what Shakira is saying and about just family not understanding what you do. My family still thinks I'm a fashion designer. And every time I correct them, they're like, yeah, I know what you do. Can I get the clothes that you designed? I'm like, I didn't design the clothes, people. Like, I put the clothes on the people. So it's still a challenge. And finally getting them to understand that this is my passion. This is the career that I've chosen, despite, like, you know, going to college and doing other things. You know, this is what I want to do. So that has been a journey in and of itself. And then it's been a journey just trying to matriculate this industry. And I guess we will talk about it as a Black creative. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I love that, and it's so funny because I'm Jamaican, and for a very long time, even now, I still feel like my family don't get what it is that I do, because I tell them I'm a journalist, so they expect me to be like on the news or reporting the weather, you know, and I'm just like, no, I write about art, I write about fashion, and I'm like, so what are you gonna do outside of that to make money? And I'm just like, this is it.
They're making money.
So that is definitely something I can relate to, and I think it really speaks to who you guys are at your core for sticking to your guns and pursuing it anyway. So that makes me really happy, because as we, like, I guess this is a perfect segue. As we know, it's already difficult trying to get into these industries as it stands, you know. So I want to talk a little bit about just getting started, you know, in your field, and then how you guys ended up in each other's folds.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, I worked in visual management for a while. So it's a long but weird story. And it came to the point where I actually got laid off. I worked at Coach. And I was like, okay, what to do now? I took a month trip to Europe, backpack around Europe, came back, and I was like, what am I gonna do now? Had a great time. And I just reached out to a friend. She's a person of color as well. And she was already in the styling industry. And she just took me under her wing. She was like, just come with me. You know, she's like, just come. I was like, okay, we'll see. And it just built this way from there, from assisting to taking all, you know, any and every assisting jobs and meeting people and networking. And finally coming in as a stylist. So I would say that's how I got into the industry myself.
Love that. I'm making a note because you said something so amazing that I wanted to circle back after you guys chime in.
Cool.
Go ahead, Kim.
All righty, y'all. So how I got started was, well, different things happened when I was working actually in the banking industry. I was a teller in the city on Fashion Avenue. And so a lot of different people would come into the location, and I met, like, the pivot was when I met the fashion editor of the Essence magazine and didn't know that who she was. I was just helping her. They put me upstairs, and she came and she was trying to get rid of a card, and I was hesitant in cutting the card, and then took it. And then, you know, after she disposed of it and she wrote her information on a business card, and she asked me what I was doing there. And I was like, I'm working. And then said, oh, well, I work in fashion. And she handed me the card. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, crap.
Wow.
So that was one of the beginnings. Then from there, you know, I tried to assist her, and I got to work with her on even a B. Smith commercial with Pillsbury. And then I took a break because there wasn't, like, I didn't know how to navigate everything in the industry as of yet. So then I winded up taking a class at School of Style, and actually is where I met kind of where you know, me and Kiana linked up. And took the class, got the education that I needed, like all the questions that I had answered, and then I just jumped in and started assisting, working with different celebrities and all of that stuff, and then doing on figure, off figure, and everything in between, and then just kept on moving forward, and
Wow.
that's where I am.
That is awesome. So now, Kiana, you meet her through School of Style, which I'm familiar with. I think I still get their emails.
Oh, yeah, I had to unsubscribe the other day. I was like, I don't know why I'm still getting these. Not to be shady, I just like don't need them at this point. But yes, I took School of Style maybe like 6 years ago. I started out working in like education, and then like I always wanted to be in the fashion industry. Was a little discouraged. My parents are like, really? Like, I don't know if you really want to pay for this. And I'm like, I need someone to pay for it. We got to figure this out. But so I did undergrad, did grad school, started working. But like I always like loved fashion. So I started a blog. I started doing personal styling in Maryland. And then one of my friends who we went to like Fashion Week, I met her through like going to Fashion Week. And she's like, yeah, I'm about to take School of Style. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know. And she's like, why not? So I took the class, and then in LA, I came back to Maryland, applied for an internship that was in New York. A day later, I went up to New York, did the interview for the internship, and they're like, we want you to intern. So I went back to Maryland, got my stuff, and stayed in New York for the rest of the summer. Because I worked in the school system, that had to come to an end. But I was just like, I'm moving to New York. And so the following year, I moved to New York and kind of just hit the ground running, interning with a lot of different people, assisting with a lot of other people, meeting Shakira and Kim through working. Well, actually, Kim introduced me to soft goods styling, because I had never, ever, ever, ever heard of soft goods styling, where you're like styling sheets and bedding and stuff like that. So she put me onto that job, and that's how I met Shakira. And so that's how I guess we kind of like all know each other. That's how I know them. So yeah, so I just was able to assist and do a lot of different things. Soft goods left to prop styling, but still focusing heavy on fashion. And so that's where I am now with fashion and prop styling.
That is awesome. I love how you guys' stories are so linked in a way. It almost seems serendipitous that you guys ended up together. And I think one thing that stuck out, Shakira, when you were talking, you said someone took you under your wing. And, you know, it's like the difference that makes, because that's been very true throughout my career, just having mentors or people just like, hey, I'll show you how to do it, you know? And then I think about you guys coming together and forming this collective, and in a way it's kind of returning that sense of community and taking other stylists and people trying to navigate the fashion industry under you guys' wings through this collective. So I think that's really amazing, and it just speaks to the power that we need as community, or we need as creatives, and we find it in each other through community. So yeah, that was really, really awesome. I love that. So when did you guys decide we've come together, we're sharing these experiences now, we're all coming from the same industry and knowing what you guys know about it, you guys came together and say, hey, I'm gonna start this collective. What was the inspiration, and how did you guys know that this is something that is definitely worth pursuing?
So it was me. I go to Kim. I'm like, girl, we need to do something. We need to get people together of color. You know what I mean? Like, we keep coming into these situations where there's only me that looks like something different in this room, or something diverse in this room. And then I go to Kiana as well. You know, I'm like, Kiana, like, what do you think? Should we start a network? And I think from there we kind of just branched together because we seen the need for a community within the studio and styling industry.
Yeah.
We just never kind of seen that, or you know what I mean, or like we come together and vent, you know, for sure, or we'll come together and help each other out. But I'm just like, imagine if we can extend this to other people. And I think even when I spoke to Kim and Kiana, you guys are kind of like, I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Thinking of the same idea. And like you said, it was serendipity, right? It's just I had a little bit of chills too earlier when you mentioned like taking under the wing, because I never thought about it until you repeated it. But definitely, I do think it was, we linked up for a reason.
I just love that. So you came together and you guys are already on the same. I just think the power of spirit is just, I love that. And now you guys are here, and I want to talk a little bit more about the different circumstances that, you know, made it so difficult to navigate this industry. Because essentially, you guys are thinking like entrepreneurs. You saw a need based on your own experiences, and now you're trying to solve that problem. But let's talk about some of those experiences. I'll start with you, Kim. Like, how has it been just trying to get your footing in this industry?
It's been interesting, and it's been a challenge. Because basically I was raised in a way where I was in elementary school, someplace in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. And Sheepshead Bay is primarily Caucasian. It's like a lot of Caucasian people. So in the elementary school, I was the only Black girl at some point in the whole school.
Wow.
And so, you know, interacting with people and how I deal with, you know, different people and stuff, I guess it became second nature, because that's, you know, that's where I grew up. Except one year I went to Massachusetts, and that was the first time I had like a whole bunch of people of color like completely in the school. And then I came back and went back to another place in Sheepshead Bay. So that experience, and then coming into the fashion industry, kind of helped in the way that I would interact with people, and I interacted with people as people. But it was different because, you know, over time you start to work with different people, and you know, some people are here to teach and take you up under their wing or teach you different things, and that needs to be done. And then sometimes you come into a place where you feel that you reach a ceiling, a glass ceiling, as a lot of people would call it. And so you know what you need to do, you know how to navigate through it and do it better, right? And then somebody who doesn't know kind of gets to be the lead on the project, but then still within that, just finding a way to just, okay, I'm going to be humble and I'm going to keep on pushing forward, because at the end of the day, it's about growth and attaining my goal. But it was definitely an interesting industry to walk into. Very interesting industry, and just the way that people interact with you. And luckily, you know, I didn't have too many crazy experiences, because I've heard stories as an assistant or somebody working in the industry, that people and things that they would say and stuff. So luckily I didn't have to have that experience. Let's say 95% of the people that I got to work with, it was in a way that, you know, there was some kind of mutual respect, and I wasn't kind of like, you my worker and I'm your boss kind of vibe. So all industries have their challenges.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that I think you're really trying to get at here is, I think for me especially, I you know, early on about racism and things like that, but when you think of the arts, when you think of fashion and you know, those things, you don't necessarily think, you know, you hear all the perils and horror stories of being corporate or being in finance and those things. So you're like, you're not really expecting to navigate racism or anything like that, or, you know, sexism is prevalent and all of the predatory, you know, facets of the industry. So I think maybe, you know, that says something about the bigger issue of all of these industries having, you know, racism, basically. So I want to know, what about you, Kiana? Were there any particular hurdles that you had to, you know, navigate, or any realizations that were just like, wait, this is a problem even in the arts?
Yeah, I think so. It was a few things. I think when you look from the outside looking in, if you're not in the industry, you do think that there are quite a few creatives of color in the industry. There are a lot of celebrity stylists, but when it comes to doing like advertising jobs, soft goods styling, prop styling,
Just where the money is.
that, yeah, especially ad jobs, like we're far and few in between. So like that was like something that I recognized right off the bat. Like I have yet to work on a big campaign with a Black stylist.
Wow.
You know, I've worked with plenty of other people from other ethnic backgrounds, but definitely like not a Black stylist. So that was one thing. And I think also, like Kim spoke on, sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times we know more than a lot of these people that are given opportunities to be key stylists. And you want to, like, you know, there is a hierarchy in fashion, and you want to like still respect that this is the key stylist and you might be assisting them. But at the same time, most of all three of us here are older, probably more educated than some, to be honest. Like, let's, you know, be clear. And we have a lot of knowledge of just how to make things work. You know what I mean? Like Kim also said, like we can see something and create an illusion, and we can see it for what it is and make it happen. And not everybody else can do that. But we still, if we're hitting a glass ceiling of being an assistant or whatever it is, you don't want to step on that key stylist's toes, because you want to be a key stylist as well, right? But you know that you can do exactly what they're doing. And that becomes difficult when you're in this industry and you know you have the knowledge and they want to keep you in a box. So I think that's been.
Do you think so? Not only is it a race issue, but then being a Black women in these, and specifically Black women, because now what you're talking about, just a large issue that's specific to Black women not being able to move past certain, you know, certain being overqualified for the role that they're shoved in. So that's pretty much what you're saying.
I don't know if you know, but we can't see you in the video.
Oh yeah. I had to pause it.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
In line with that, so there's this plateau, and so what then? What then after realizing that these barriers are still present? How do you guys, you know, navigate and bypass that, if you can bypass it?
Well, I do know also that I have been really fortunate to meet people that are white and that have put me in key stylist positions to where I didn't even think I was ready for it. So I will say that there are people out there that are willing to help and see your growth and see growth that you don't even see sometimes.
So it's just about just stumbling upon the right leader.
Right. So I just wanted to put that out there. But Shakira, you can go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah, I really want to hear from your side, because you're dealing more so in the home and set design space. So I know that it's similar, but are those experiences the same for you?
I think what we're kind of speaking, it's very covert, right? It's not directly in your face or anything, but it's in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's in the air. So it may even, oh gosh, I'm gonna get real. It may even be a little, sometimes when I do book a job or I am around Caucasian people, it might be a little sense of guilt.
Overcompensating.
Well, from their end, like, you know, like I just kind of want to, how am I speaking to this? Just like, say if I was a stylist, their stylist assistant, you know what I mean? And those moments, I might not feel like I'm getting trained as much or I'm getting direction as much because of me, you know, being a Black woman and being the only Black woman or person in the studio. You know what I mean? So that even in that sense is a disconnect.
Yeah.
Homes goods, there is no Black people in homes good. I've actually had a young lady, Indian young lady, who came up to me and she was just like, "Thank you. You are the first Black stylist I have seen thus far." Wow. So, which was dope that she felt, you know what I mean? Felt like she needed to say that and come up to me and recognize it. And I think that kind of just spoke to what is needed is a community so that we can strengthen ourselves and be able to speak up in those moments. You know what I mean? Be able to speak to our worth, be able to get the strength and confidence to speak up when we see something being done wrong on set. But if you're a stylist assistant, you don't want to say nothing. If it ain't your set, you don't want to say nothing. You know what I mean? We have to build basically a community that can be a backbone so we can say, is this being done right? Is something off here? Did that happen to you? You know what I mean? So we can call it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how we kind of get through that glass ceiling together.
I love that. It's coming right back again to, you know, what you guys are doing, trying to be that resource, be that sense of community, but also, you know, I want to get at payment in the fashion industry. I myself when I was starting out, I wanted to tackle all areas because I was like, I need to know how everything works. So I worked as I freelanced. I worked for free as a stylist quite a bit, and I know for a fact that stylists, especially a lot of roles in the fashion industry are underpaid, but especially stylists. And there's so much responsibility that is placed upon stylists, you know, the pools being responsible for those clothing, for all of the products, and delivering and picking up and actually running and manning the set, because even though there'll be a creative director, a lot of the work it falls on the stylist. And it always baffled me when people would like put out calls for stylists and every position is paid. The photographer is paid, not much, but a lot of times the photographer is paid. But then stylists, it's like trade for print, or like, you know, what have been your experiences in getting paid work, and how can the consistency of paid work, and have there been any instances where you've been underpaid or not paid at all for your services?
I'm waiting on a check right now. Okay. I'm waiting on a check.
You just said, yes.
What? We wait on some money. Okay. I mean, when I interned, I understood that I wasn't going to get paid. I totally understood that. Thus far, I really haven't had anyone like not pay me for whatever I've done. I've gotten a few jobs where, in hindsight, I should have told them a couple of things for even offering me that rate. But at the time, when you're still learning, you're still growing, and you're still understanding your worth, you're just like, okay, I want the experience. I need the money. Like I'm funding this dream, so I have to keep going. But now there's certain jobs that I won't take, even if I don't have anything lined up, because, you know, I know what I bring to the table. I know that you're trying to lowball me, and if I continue to take it, you're always going to call me to do the jobs that nobody else will do. And so I think comes a point where you just draw that line in the sand and you're like, listen, it's fine, cool. Like, you don't have to hit me up. It's unfortunate that you don't see that I can do X, Y, and Z. You can pay me more for it. But if that is what it is, then so be it, you know?
Yeah. Kim, do you want to chime in on that?
So, just like Kiana said, speaking to that, when you starting off, even in what we're doing and we're trying to take people under our wing and such, you gotta know that you gotta pay to play. And that's the name of the game. So the same way that a doctor pays over 100K for that education, and then after they get the education, you are not going to see them in the hospital trying to cut you open, because you don't want them cutting you open, because you want to make sure that they went through their residency, they did their internship. And so in the same way, when, you know, wanting to be in this industry, you have to pay your dues. And so a lot of people don't understand that. So when coming in, I may be a stylish person and fashionista, whomever, but you have to come humble and gain all the experience that you can gain, because you want to basically take advantage of the time of interning and not messing nothing up while you're unpaid. You can ask all the questions you want to ask. You can make all the mistakes that you want to make. Lose a sample, misplace a sample, misplace anything, make mistakes. And the rebuttal is going to be, oh, she's an intern. So that's your space, you know, to play and make your mistakes. Now, when you go into the line of, okay, now I'm assisting, I'm getting gigs, like Kiana said as well, you know, there are some things that you take on that they will, you know, keep you in that category and call you last minute to do certain jobs, and not pay you properly, and pay the next person better who knows less, or pay somebody after you done train them how to do the job properly, because they were just being, you know, mediocre in doing their job, and you're thorough, right? They'll go ahead and take care of the other person, and then just, you know, first, second, third assist or whatever. And then, you know, yes, I've been in a situation where somebody owes me money from 3 years ago. And, you know, it came from, okay, we put up an ad, we need some assistance, and you go ahead and you go and work for this person, and they decide afterwards to kind of come for you and tell you, oh, well, you know, can that just be an intern? You know, and I'm like, I wish you would have did that while I was doing the job, because I'd have been like, I'll be right back. No, absolutely not. So, you know, thank goodness that there are certain things that's been put in place, like the freelancers aren't free act and stuff, even though they try to find a way around it to still not pay you on time. But, you know, if I decided to say, you know what, I feel like taking her to court, she would have to pay double of what she booked me for, and the fees from the lawyer if I win. So there's different things that happen. But again, it's an interesting, colorful industry. And you just gotta, you know, navigate and pick your battles. People sometimes don't want to pay you. Sometimes it's not somebody of a different color. It's a person of color, a Black person, who doesn't want to pay you. And I've had that situation, and I let her know. I let her know. Like, absolutely not, you know, because some people who, one person can ruin everything for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so the industry that we're currently in is it's a balance of trust.
It is a lot of trust. A lot of trust.
Like, trust. I'm going to trust you with all this Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Prada and all these other high-end designers, about $200K, $1 million worth of stuff or whatever. Please don't lose it, and don't let anybody steal it. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this here with you. And I need you to dress everybody in it, and I need you to pack it back up. So it's a check and balances. So if we're going to these things, going to these places, meeting these celebrities, dressing them, you know, and then you get off a set and you're done, and this person is trying to tell you, oh, well, you did the job, but they changed the rate. Absolutely not. So, you know, if I would have just stick to her, I would have thought, oh my God, this fashion industry is horrible and Black stylists are horrible. But because I know who I am as a person, even though I was assisting her, she tried it and I had to, you know, let her know. But, you know, not everybody is the same. So, you know, you got to check people at the end of the day. When something's not right, especially in this climate that we're in and all that we have suffered and endured and have gone through, no more nipping things in the bud.
Yeah.
No, you have to nip things in the bud. No more not saying anything. No more being silent.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud now, today, so that later on it doesn't grow. You don't give food to a monster and make it grow.
Yeah. And keeping in line with that, I want to talk a little bit about what growing pains you guys, or tidbits to avoid growing pains for emerging stylists or creatives who are interested in navigating this space. Like, what are some things that you would say definitely have in place to ensure success?
Listen, for me, when I started, I had a second, I always stay with a second job, a third one. To be honest, I used to bartend and also style and assist. From there, it just got to the point where the styling started to pick up, and then I could, you know, leave the bartending job. So I would honestly say in starting out this game, you might need a second job. You might need it until you are able to network in the way that you want to, make the connections in the way that you want to, and then boom, grow from there. But I would say have some way or form that you can make extra capital in your life from jump, you know? It's probably one of my tidbits.
Okay, so make sure you're taking care of your home until you're sustaining off of. I mean, we've heard the stories, you know, struggling artist, struggling stylist, struggling designer, you know, betting it all on the career. And that's not to say that you shouldn't keep going at it, but as it stands, you know, the creative economy is imbalanced. It's not fair. So it does make it a little bit harder, you know, to just solely focus on what it is that you want to do. But what about you, Kim and Kiana? Any tips and advice to set yourself up for protection and for success?
You want to go first, Kim, or?
Go ahead.
The first thing that came to mind is like exactly what Shakira said. Setting yourself up financially, because for most of us, we get paid 60 days out for most jobs. So we don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So you have to be somewhat financially savvy in order to make sure that you stay afloat. And I would just say, treat this like a business. Don't come into it, you know, like if you know you're going to do it, don't come into it just like, oh, like, you know, just another job. No, treat it like a business, like the way that other people come in and they set up their business and they get certain tax write-offs and they know how to make it work for them. So at the end of the year, they're not paying out a lot of money in taxes, but, you know, just really taking the time to figure out what you want. And if you want longevity in this career, then do the necessary steps. Like even, you know, staying on top of like your invoices, figuring out how to do that, or, you know, the laws, like Kim was talking about the freelancers. Was it freelancers not?
Freelancers aren't free.
Stay on top of that stuff because you have to know that stuff in order to be an advocate for yourself. Yeah. So my biggest thing would just be like, you know, come in and treat it like a business.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think one of the things that no matter what type of creative you are, that we have the creative down pat, and we get so focused on, you know, just being able to do that side of the work. And I'm speaking for myself too. Like I'm still learning the processes of, you know, the operation side of things, learning the operation side. So I'm really glad that you said that, because that is it's just something that trips us up all the time. And it takes so much work to have those operational infrastructures in place. Do you want to add anything to that, Kim?
What I would say is, in this industry, even when they say they're going to pay you, you have to be persistent to get your coins.
Follow up.
Yeah, literally pull up to the office.
Tell them how you pull up, Kim. Tell them how you pull up.
I'm gonna behave. Y'all trying to? Nope, I ain't doing it.
Okay. Well,
Your waiting room, in your waiting room, with my invoices, or writing all my invoices down, that I have not been paid for certain companies. Not all of them are like that, but there are some of them, or one of them, that have a
recurring issue.
A recurring streak of net never.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a little rolling joke that we have of, you know, net 30 days, net 60 days, net never.
Wow.
Okay, so you really have to you got to be persistent and roll up into the office sometime. Come cute. Don't look like you come with a baseball bat or anything. Just, you know, come ready with your pen and your paper. You write down all your invoice situations, and you let them know who you are. Like they will remember your name. And when you come in for your money. So you have to be persistent. Definitely have to be organized, and you do have to budget throughout the time. Like both the young ladies said, you have to sometimes have another job, or if you're lucky, you have some savings and you live off of that until something picks up. And then that's sometimes why you kind of take anything, because you want to continue in that motion of always working, that at least something comes in. You know, waitressing, I've worked at restaurants, you know, hostess, and those kinds of things, just to make sure ends would meet. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. It's a hustle, and we in New York, so they say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So,
wow, thank you guys for that. Shakira, did you have something to say?
Yes, I think all of this kind of goes into the structures of rates and stuff, right? Because if you are, somebody's playing Beyonce, if you haven't had enough experience, as Kim has spoke to, you're going to be taking anything when someone says, oh, can you style for me? So what happens is that messes up the game. It messes up the market. You know what I mean? If you're an intern, that's fine. If you are assistant stylist, be that. But make sure that you're confident enough in your styling to where you can say, this is my stylist rate. I'm not going below market value. If you're not confident in it, you are dragging down the market. So then we have people that aren't paying us on time. It's not a respectful payment process. You know what I mean? We have to stick together in that realm, and it might take steps, which is fine. But if you just, that's how you're saying, like, it got to the point where it's like, oh, we'll trade off for photos of your imagery and stuff. And it's like, no, someone has already clearly set the precedent that it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to, when they you go high, you gotta go high. That's it. And if you're not ready, that's okay too. But don't bring down the market value. You know what I mean? It just messes it up across the board.
And that kind of goes back in totality to running it like a business. Treat yourself like a business. And I think that's just a key point that can never not be valuable, especially in this context. But I want to stray back a little bit to, systemic racism in fashion. I know one of the questions that I think you guys already answered was, how can stylists and creatives in the fashion industry set themselves up for success, and using those tips and also relying on each other and building community. That's one way. But all in all, I just want to know, do you guys think, particularly American fashion, the American fashion industry, do you think that can exist with the absence of racism? Can American fashion be separate from racial issues?
I would like to just say one thing. It can, because we are fashion.
Come on now.
Like, let's just put it out there. That's the first thing that came to mind. We are fashion. So it can, the two don't have to exist together. Because we're not the ones that's inciting any form of racism on set.
Yeah.
We're just trying to show up peacefully and do what we do by nature.
Yeah.
So that's all I gotta say.
And I think you're making a big point here, especially with everything that's going on. We still see, models and the designers, the creative directors, these people are being forced to come out in front of, racial issues, but then all of them are getting exposed, for being the very institutions that we're criticizing and calling out right now. So it just really got me thinking, like, it's the same way I feel about the American identity. It cannot be separate from its racial history. And I'm getting to feel as though these these brands, these legacy brands, the Ralph Laurens and the Tommies and all of these legacy brands, they are all complicit in upholding systemic racism. And it really makes me think, can American fashion be separate from racism? And if it can't, does that mean we are also in the middle of a revolution, or revolutionizing these industries?
Okay, so I want to say something about that. A lot of the classic vibes and the classic styles of Ralph Lauren, which you were just speaking of, right? These brands, we're in the background of a lot of these things that are going on. So you may not see us in the forefront, but we're in the background. So now the work that needs to be done is for us to come to the forefront of it. Because if you look at certain brands and you see the final product, you don't get to see the inner workings. So sometimes it's us inspiring them for their mood board. As you're walking out in the street, which has happened to me many times, and somebody just decides to pull out a camera, clip, and take a picture of my outfit or my look because, I dress differently. So therefore, and then months later, we're looking around like, why does everybody have the same aesthetic as me or style?
Yeah.
So we're in the background of these things, down to Ralph Lauren. A lot of people were wearing vintage classic items. It was a lot of Black people who couldn't afford the items in the first place, who would go into these vintage shops or secondhand shops when a lot of the rich and famous or wealthy would get rid of their old stuff. And we would go ahead and take those items and then turn them into a new fashion, a new look. We remade things, we renewed things, we revitalized things.
Tommy is a prime example with Aaliyah in the 90s. Yeah. Big
Dapper Dan and Gucci, like that's
Marc Jacobs. He's doing a lot of that. Yeah. So we were definitely always in the background. So now the cry that's happening now is not only we're in the background, we don't want to be in the background anymore. We want to be in the forefront We want to be given credit for the work that we're doing. Okay. I want you to look at what it is that I'm wearing and be like, girl, you did that. And you know what? We're going to put that in the magazine and we're going to give you credit for that. And you're the trend.
Yeah, right.
To be very honest with you. How you put your colors together, how you wear your kente cloth. I'm on set. I can't wear a head wrap, African head wrap, without somebody like, oh my God, how did you get that this?
Right.
That, and
oh, what is that? I'm like, they want to touch it, but they can't.
and they know I'm glad people touch it. Okay. And look at me up and down and like, your head's high. So we are always in the background, and now we want to be in the front, and we want to be paid for being in front. Now, if you don't want us there, I ain't got no problems.
Do you both
leaving? I'm not, and I've been telling the ladies this for quite some time.
I already know where this is going. We already know.
Lay it on me, lay it on me.
If you do not want me here, then I will leave. And I will take all my Afrocenticities, nose, and my chocolateness, and I will take it to the other chocolate people that I was kidnapped from. But that's all. I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah. So it's like if you're not going to give us, you can't profit off of us without giving us our due. If we can't profit off of our own culture, our own influence, you're not going to be able to do that either.
Yeah.
Basically, let me go home. I'm gonna go home. Go home from the free trip that wasn't free.
Yeah.
We'll go back there and I'll figure it out.
Ooh, so let's talk about the motherland, because one of the things that I'm really, really excited about right now is seeing this push for a Pan-African creative economy. And I, for one, I'm a big Garvey person, so I do believe he had his missteps, but I do believe in the Pan-African agenda. Yes, all the Pan-African agendas. So now we see, Black brands coming out, stop hiding behind their white models and actually are using, but where they're not hiding themselves behind these brands anymore, and are being vocal and open about being Black owned and selling and catering to Black audiences. So do you see that as, that was kind of one of my later questions, but do you see that as the future? So now we've got the understanding that, community is key in ensuring our success and advocacy as creatives in fashion, right? So now, do you see that growing into a larger, more collective effort on a diasporic scale? Because I see that. I see that happening.
I think it's more about us creating our own standard, right? So once we created our own standard and no longer went by their standard, we can grow and we can blossom there. But if we're trying to fit into their standard, it's not for them. They're not going to understand it. You know what I mean? So once we started seeing
business can't be how we do business. It's like all of it, essentially.
Yep, you're right. Maybe, as even Kim talks about all the time, taking what we know here, bringing it to the motherland and doing it fair, you know, and exchanging in that way. Yeah. But it's here. The music, the color, the culture, you know what I mean? It is being embraced, especially by African Americans, you know what I mean too? And I'm seeing that. So yeah, I don't see anything but growth from here, just as long as we stay within our standard. Yeah. Worry about ourselves.
Standards. I want to kind of wrap it up talking a little bit about more about the collective, the Melanated Creatives. I know that what brought you guys together, but essentially what offerings, what services, what factions and ways of building community, what are you guys trying to built this platform into, and where do you see it going? How do you see it servicing you guys and then the larger fashion community?
Oh, I'll start.
Who's going to talk about it first?
What we're doing, like you said, we are here to create a community and a network of stylists, people in the industry, photographers. Oh my gosh. It could be all kind of, it could be until the person that sets up the wall for a set. Yeah. We want people to know that these jobs, first of all, do exist.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people do not know these jobs exist. That's
lighting and all that good stuff.
There's tech, things of that. So that's an avenue for more people of color to get into. Definitely. So we want to introduce that. And then we also want to teach. You know, we're here to teach. We're here to network. We're here to answer questions about things. Eventually, our vision is to see more of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the studio room, in the boardrooms making decisions.
Yeah, and in all roles.
Right. Before that shirt comes out that's about to, you know, like bring up some racial issues, there should be a Kiana, Kim, or Shakira in that room to say, you can do that.
Wait a minute, wait. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. What, you won't put that on the shirt?
Yeah.
We want people to build in that way, and also eventually be able to like travel with this.
Yeah.
Be a part of more platforms like yours, Sasha. We thank you so much for opening this up for us. Man, yeah, our vision is to see more of us in the room. In the room.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jackie.
Would you ladies like to add to this?
What I would say is, despite all that's going on right now, because people feel guilty, and they feel the pressure of the different movements that are happening now, and systemic racism can no longer sit under the sheet the way that it did. So now there are people who understand that silence is, you know, agreement. You're in agreement with what's going on. So now many people are no longer being silent and they want to be allies. And within that, even if some of it is guilt motivated or pressure, I think that we as a collective and people who are gearing towards helping others need to take advantage of those different things that are coming up right now, and teaching the people who, you know, desire to be a part of these different jobs and facets and photographers. Like there's like 20 different types of stylists and people don't know that, you know, and teaching them these things and these aspects and just really giving them the etiquette, teaching them all these different things. Like, how do you survive on set? And giving them these different hands-on experiences so that when they do walk away from us and venture out on their own, that they'll be like, mama done taught you well and you know what you need to do. Yeah. And if I want to say something contrary, I can't, because mama done taught you well. Yeah. You know, and so it's that kind of vibe of, okay, we're here together and we're gonna work together, but you know, we want to be iron that sharpens iron, and that's how we even work with each other, like, and deal with each other. Is like, okay, listen, you need to be excellent and you need to work on this, that, and a third. And so, you know, that's how we deal with each other. So obviously that's how we're going to deal with the people that are coming on and giving them that understanding. So yeah.
I love that. Do you want to add anything, Kiana?
Yeah, everything Shakira and Kim just said so perfectly. Also just really just building a sense of community. the reason why we're able to even do this is because we've had conversations prior to even us forming the collective where we're just there to encourage each other. Like, girl, you got this. Like, you know what I mean? Or, you know, you just got to do X, Y, and Z. And this is how you get into this studio. Or like, you know, and I always use this example, like, girl, I'm about to do this job because I've had to do that. I'm about to do this job tomorrow. I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? So really building that sense of community, because a lot of times we don't know who to ask.
Yeah.
And we don't always have someone to ask. So letting people know that you do have people that within this network who may have an answer for you, and you don't have to do it alone. Because I think especially the fashion industry can feel lonely sometimes. Fashion, soft goods, all of it, it can feel really lonely, and you feel like sometimes in your head, like you're losing it. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I making progress? But to be able to speak to both of these ladies about the things that I'm going through and them talking to me, you know, or vice versa, it's so helpful. It's made the journey that much easier. So.
Wow. Well, I honestly could not have asked for a better conversation, which is why I was really excited to do this. I think what you guys bring to the table is I haven't talked to a lot of stylists who aren't in it for the vanity, if I'm going to be honest with you. And I've met quite a few stylists over my years as a journalist, and I will tell you, it was really refreshing to me because I got, you know, as you guys know, I was referred to you guys through a mutual friend, and one of the things that was really important for me is the fact that you guys were actually working stylists, but are doing something that actually helps other people in a substantial way. Not let's go be cute and go to these mock Studio 54 parties, and you know what I mean, and trying to capture some Sex in the City lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, this is hard work what you guys do. It's really hard, tedious work too. So that's one of the things that was really important to me. Why I really wanted to bring you guys into the fold just off rip is because you're using invaluable experience that a lot of stylists, they don't get to see firsthand what it's really like being in this industry. You know what I mean? So to be able to provide these resources, these tips, a safe space too, for people who want to be a part of this industry or who are already a part of this industry and are struggling. And I think that is just so commendable on you guys' parts. You guys are actual working stylists, you know, not me and my friends. I'm a blogger and I say I'm a stylist, but like actual industry stylist. And I think more Black kids need to see that. I have young siblings. I'm the oldest. And, you know, I remember one of the first things I did, I took my sister to a photo shoot with me when I was getting started. And I think about what if, you know, she draws and she's really creative and that stuff. You know, what opportunities, if she wanted to be a stylist, you know, what opportunities could she get? And I wouldn't, as the industry stands, this ain't something I would push her to go towards because I know the lack of resources. I know what you guys go through. So I just really think, sorry guys. So I just really think it's important to provide what you guys are providing, for you guys to stick to your industry, stick to your path, and you guys are all different variations of the same industry. That in itself too is uplifting and encouraging. So again, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you guys for sharing yourselves and being so open. And tell the people, how can they connect with you online so they can keep up with the Melanated Creatives? I know that you guys throw events and those things. I know probably can't right now because of COVID. But I definitely want, you know, all of our readers, followers, whatever, to be a part of you guys' folds and keep up with all the things that you're doing. So please tell us how to follow and keep up with the Melanated Creatives.
Well, first of all, Sasha, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much
for having us. And it's real recognize real, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to share it. So I thank you so much for giving us your platform to share what it is that we do. The Melanated Creatives, you can contact us on Instagram at the Melanated Creatives. It's long, but events. Let's see. At the last event that we had a producer, a woman of color producer from Tory Burch with us. This next event, we are going to come up with, we want to just have like a therapist with us to kind of speak about the mental state and being of color on set at your job. You know what I mean? I think it's huge, especially as we are going through these phases and coming back. People need to just get reacclimated. And this is a new day. We don't, just with, what's going on racially as well. So we kind of want to just give information towards that. But if you follow us on the Melanated Creatives, we can let you know of our next events. And if anyone out there has any ideas of what they want to talk about, what they want to hear, let us know. We are all ears.
Awesome.
They can contact us. I'm sorry. They can also contact us at themelanatedcreatives@gmail.com. So if you have any ideas and stuff, you can send the information there as well.
Well, if that is all, thanks again so much, guys.